Hello, welcome back. I'm, of course, the man, the myth, the Statman. Statman Dave, welcome back to the show. Today is Premier League preview time, and on today's show, we're going to be talking all things Manchester United, linked with a Brazilian wonder kid today. We're going to talk about Hannibal Mejbri, Amrabat, but also we're going to be diving into some other Premier League action. There's some big games in the Premier League this weekend, so we're going to be looking at Aston Villa versus Brighton & Hove Albion. So any Aston Villa and Brighton fans that want to listen to me talking about statistics, tactics about their teams, stay tuned. Of course, we're going to be talking about the big game on Saturday evening, which is Spurs versus Liverpool. Could be a good one. Genuinely one of my favourite games in recent Premier League years. Spurs versus Arsenal last weekend was an absolute banger. So we'll talk through that, what we learned from that situation. Just have some fun. Guys, get into the chat. Let me know what's going on. How have you been today? What is going, what you're doing this weekend? Mulder, shout out to you. Sven's in the chat. Alejandro's in here as well. Dylan's knocking around. The Panda. All this good stuff. NW4E. Yes, man like Dave. What you telling me, G? Well, you know what I'm telling you this weekend? Get yourself onto a sofa on Saturday, watch Aston Villa versus Brighton at 12:30, then either watch Man United's game or watch the Arsenal-Bournemouth game. Then in the evening, you're looking at a Tottenham Hotspur-Liverpool on one monitor. Other monitor, RB Leipzig versus Bayern Munich. It is a great weekend of football. So, we'll give you all the stats, all the ammunition for that, which is really good. Dylan, Sancho should work like Hannibal. Yeah, I think we might be past that point, but I completely agree with you. Wasted talent. I do feel like there's a real frustration around Jadon Sancho. Still not apologised to Erik ten Hag. Still not allowed to go into first team areas or at Carrington. It's pretty embarrassing for a player that gets paid 300 plus grand a week. Just needs to do his job. I imagine us all in the chat, all here together, we do a lot for 300 plus grand a week, and not even being able to apologise to a boss who you've wronged is a little bit crazy. The crazy story that came out last week was the one that apparently this whole issue started because Jadon Sancho did 4 press-ups, not 5 press-ups. Erik ten Hag told him to do another 5 press-ups and he didn't want to do it. Like, where is your decency, guys? Where is the decency? You know what I'm saying? Kieran in the chat as well. Welcome to the stream today. Ben, in terms of Hannibal being undroppable, yes, his energy and set of skills is needed in midfield, carries the ball, good decision-making, shot from distance, shown that he's got a good area of his game. Yeah, look, I tell you what, it's I'm a big fan of Hannibal. I think the loan spell was the wrong club for Hannibal, in my opinion. Birmingham City last season was the wrong championship club. I would favour teams that have heavy possession in the championship for Man United young players to go to. Saying that, though, he seems to be stronger, seems to be more powerful, seems to defend better, and seems to be switched on, which I really like. I think Hannibal left Manchester United a cocky, teenager, and he's come back, an adult ready to play for the football club and listens to Erik ten Hag, speaks to Erik ten Hag, all that good stuff. So I'm super happy with Hannibal this season. We'll do some more analysis on that as well. But let's dive into the show. Let's start talking football because Man United have been linked today with a Brazilian wonder kid, Lauren. So today, before we dive into anything, we're going to answer the question, who is Lauren? So Lauren is a 17-year-old attacking midfielder that plays for Flamengo. He came through the Flamengo Youth Academy, made his first team debut in January 2023 at the age of 16. He then went on to become the youngest ever player to score for Flamengo, and 2 weeks later, he'd really established himself in the squad. In terms of him as a footballer, he is a left-footed attacker. Very comfortable, though, at going on his left foot and on his right foot. He's got that duality in dribbling. He's that classic Brazilian player, really good skills, but a really powerful carrier. One of the big things I like about him is when he gets going, when he's beating his man 1v1, the power that he generates, and it's really difficult to stop him when he gets moving, is a really good trait of him. In terms of his positions, playing for Manchester United, if he were to be signed, could play on the right wing, could play attacking midfield, or even on the left wing. He's got that real duality of a forward, a very flexible forward. Spent quite a bit of time playing attacking midfield for Flamengo's youth team. They're under 20s or under 17s. Got an eye for a nice pass over the top. But more frequently, you'll expect to see him on the right wing. Likes to cut in and drive across the pitch, where either he can look for a through ball for the left winger running in behind, or the striker underlapping in the box. Obviously got an eye for getting a shot away as well. Got a powerful shot, finishes well. Lovely little first touch. Got the skills. Looks like a real talent. But I think the big thing, my favourite thing about him is that powerful frame, the good body balance, the ability to receive on the turn, likes to flick the ball over the opponent's head, got a good chop in him on either foot as well. In terms of statistics, 0.6 goals plus assists per 90. He's averaging 11 dribbles per 90 at a 55% completion rate, and currently adding around 4.7 shots to Flamengo's attack with shots and obviously chances created. I quite like him, quite a creative passer, but would really add something to Man United's attack, a player that could play all across the front line that must be signed by Manchester United. They've missed out on Caicedo. They've missed out on so many wonder kids over the years. Get it done. This kid is the real deal. Powerful, strong, would be great for the Premier League. Carries a little bit like how Anderson used to carry. If you remember Anderson, the great central midfielder for Man United in 2008, he was really powerful on the carry. Lauren reminds me a little bit like that he's really good when he's going. So I like him. Would be suited for the Premier League. Would be a fantastic signing for Manchester United. Guys, get into the chat what you think about Lauren and all your thoughts and opinions today. Aiden's dropped into the chat. Hey Dave, you good mate? Absolutely fine. Jay Delete, love your videos. Thanks for that, my buddy. You think Ahmad's going to be important when he comes back? I really hope so. From what Ahmad, what he started to do at the back end of the season for Sunderland, he was such a dangerous player to deal with. And I feel like, you've got a talent in the Manchester United, you've set up on a similar level to Alejandro Garnacho, or maybe even, a little bit ahead of Alejandro Garnacho in his development. But this kid is brilliant. He's very, 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 very good. Got big, big talent. You look at the back end of the season there where Sunderland needed him, scoring, 5 goals and an assist in the last few games. And this was the part of the season where it was starting to get playoffs, starting to go into the running, very, very important. I thought the management from Tony Mowbray was really good. Tony took him out of the team, sort of around February, March, just to give him a bit of a rest. Again, Ahmad is a young player, and I think the thought was he was tiring a little bit. So they gave him a rest, and he finished off the season in great form, scored a lot of very, very good goals. Performance against Hull City in a 4-4 draw was a good one. And the other thing as well is he's played number 10 as well as playing on the right wing. For me, Ahmad could play all across the forward line. I think that's what Erik ten Hag wants from his forward. So very, very exciting to have him back, and that's what we should be leaning on at the moment. Hannibal Mejbri, Amad Diallo, Kobe Mainoo, Dangor. This is what Man United is. This is the excitement that we should always have as Manchester United fans. It's all about the youth. Jumping into the chat again. Sancho can go, in my opinion, hasn't impressed me. Chris, absolutely bang on. I'm proper annoyed about it, to be quite honest. He is a statistical anomaly in a sense of his qualities. The amount of touches he was taking at Dortmund, the assists, the expected assists, the goals, the expected goals, the dribble, like a ridiculous statistical anomaly. And we've just not seen that at all. And it's super frustrating. It's the kind of, his lifestyle isn't up to point. And United will have to replace him in January. Whether it is Lauren from Flamengo, whether it is Pedro Neto from Philip in the chat, which is a great shout. Pedro Neto is flying this season. For Wolves, he's a player of obviously, we all know Pedro Neto's quality, burst onto the scene, but it's taken him a little bit of time to kind of get back to the level. He's been injured. He's had a real stop-start campaign over the last few years, but this season he's been brilliant. 1 goal and 4 assists in just 6 games. And what I like about him is he's been playing left wing. So he's been playing on his natural side. For Manchester United, you look at what Erik ten Hag's best team was at Ajax. More left wingers, more left-footed players. You're thinking about the the Tadic, Hakim Ziyech, David Neres free behind the centre forward, or with Donny van der Beek. That was a great team. More left footers in the team, more difficult to play against. Pedro Porro is absolutely doing it. 2 assists in the game against Palace. Was very, very good against Liverpool. Should have got 2 assists. Created a really big chance for Mateus Nunes, who headed over, but did assist the only Wolves goal of the game. He'd be a great sign. I think would be great for Arsenal, great for Man United. Anybody that needs a left footer, I think those 2 would be perfect. Cooper in the chat, Sir Statman of Dave, please rise. Yes, we will rise. Ewan, Dave, I have 5 flags. I've hit the wildcard button. Ewan, that's a worry, my friend. You had a great season last season. You got to start performing. You're in the big leagues now, in the head-to-head leagues, but you got luck for game week 10 onwards, I would say. Got a question from Mahad as well. Javier Guard. How do we pronounce Javier's second name? Has been linked to Man United. So he's a player that I looked at yesterday from a stats perspective. Again, that's kind of how I nerdily do these things. I look at the profile of a player, which creates a little bit of bias in my mind. But in terms of what I've kind of seen, he's very much in the same build as Gabri Veiga. Remember Gabri Veiga last season, who's gone to Saudi? We spoke a lot about him being a very classic English box-to-box midfielder. Carried well, tackled well, scored. It's a different profile. Usually when we think about Spanish midfielders, we think about them being technically brilliant. We think we think, Xavi, we think Iniesta, we think the 2 lads at Barca, Gavi and Pedri. These are a different model. These are more like box-to-box, old-school midfielders. Look at his statistics in this game. Scored a goal, grabbed an assist, but you see 9 out of 17 passes. Valencia not dominating the ball. 2 out of 2 tackles, 1 dribble completed. That's the type of player he is against Real Sociedad. Again, look at that heat map. There's a lot of action in his defensive third, in the opponent's final third. 3 shots on goal in this match, 22 passes completed. 4 out of his 5 dribbles, 2 out of his 3 tackles. You see what I'm saying? They tackle, they win the ball back, they carry. Very interesting. Love it. I love when we find new things in football like this. It's lovely, but a great player. Shout out to Mahad in the chat as well. Sancho's dip in performance just come because he's an interest in football. I think he doesn't manage himself very well. Don't know the people around him are the right people. Him putting that statement out has caused this entire mess. So, they're not the right people for Jadon Sancho. That is what I would say to Jadon Sancho. Drop your management, drop the people around you if you want to get back to the top level. He has got the most talent in European football. His talent levels, for me, are like Ballon d'Or winning talent levels. But the application is the problem. Without the application, you ain't going to get anywhere. So, big thing. Change the people around you. I really, really believe in that. Ewan, Sancho feels like he was blocking a young player. If you tried 2 players in each position, good to get off the wage bill. Yeah, I think the wage bill's a big thing. I think there's so many attacking young talents in European football and Brazilian football. There's a lot of side there. Shea Lacey from Dan. How about Shane Lacey? So I saw Shane Lacey play against Bayern Munich under-19s in the UEFA Youth League. Man United were quite poor. He didn't really get in the game. He's obviously got talent, but it's about how Man United now grow that talent. And that has been the concern in recent years. But with Erik ten Hag, we've got a guy that will, grow talent and will improve players. So there's a lot of weight on his shoulders. I'd say give him the space to develop, the space to grow, the space to become the player that he can be. He's got talent. He really does. Hannibal, the new Januzaj. No, I think Hannibal's got good quality about him. In terms of Man United right now, I think when we're looking at the overall side, throwing Hannibal into this lineup is probably United's strongest 11. We'll speak a little bit more about Hannibal, but I've been so impressed by the things that I like, and they are really boring. Work rate, tackling, getting back into position, keeping possession in the final third, making the right decisions. They're all little things that I like. Little things that I like a lot about Hannibal. So, I think he's got a lot more to him than Januzaj. Big potential for me, Hannibal. Just got to keep working hard. Simple as that. And he's a player that was signed for 10 million from Monaco. And you got to look at where he's coming and where he's going. And the work rate may not have been there at the start of his tenure at Manchester United, but now we're getting to a point where he's really starting to work hard. He's got a good relationship with the manager. It's a great place to be because you think at the start of this season we would not be talking about Hannibal. but he's taken his chance because of the other issues in the club. Statman FC, you know, that's why Hannibal Mejbri is here, and, you know, keep it up. Love it. Absolutely love it. So, you know, you're thinking Hannibal, Mejbri, you're thinking with Amad Diallo, you know, mentioned previously about Dangor and all that. It's an exciting time for Manchester United's young players. But anyway, guys, shall we dive into the Premier League preview part of the show? First up, we've got a game. A big one in the Premier League. Again, games to watch this weekend, of course, at 12:30. Definitely get on Brighton versus Aston Villa. It could be an absolute popper. From a tactical perspective, very, very interesting. From a talent perspective, very, very interesting as well. You know, if you want to watch an open game that could really go either way, this is the one for you this weekend. When we're taking a look at, you know, Aston Villa this season, they have pretty much continued with the same, you know, quality that Unai Emery's shown so far. Their shape is super interesting. They start defending in your kind of flat 4-4-2. In possession, that shape moves. At times, we've seen Matty Cash actually play on the right wing. But as the shape kind of evolves, you know, Zaniolo, John McGinn move inside. Watkins and Diaby can either make the moves out or make moves inside to the channels. The fullbacks attack in the final third. It's your classic Spanish Emery 4-2-2. Alternatively, other tactical ideas they've been using, if Diego Carlos is playing, they'll drop Diego Carlos into a, you know, right back position. Cash will be pushed forward as a wing back. McGinn will move from the left wing inside, and they'll basically create some sort of like 3-4-1-2 shape with John McGinn linking with the forwards. It's great to watch. It's very, very attacking, and they create a lot of opportunities, Villa. I'm a big fan of Emery's Villa. I think it's the perfect club for him. I really do, but I probably think this week it will be more of a Zaniolo on the left wing, John McGinn on the right wing, or vice versa. You know, you could basically, wherever John McGinn plays is where you want your work rate. And thinking about this game, you'd probably want John McGinn on that right wing position just because of the threat of Estupiñán. You know, you think about Brighton's threats. They've got, again, some of the most fun players in European football. You know, Mitoma's in there. You've got the likes of Ferguson, Joao Pedro. You know, even someone like Billy Gilmour. I've really been impressed by Billy Gilmour this season. But there is a question in terms of, you know, their strongest 11. I think that's an answer that De Zerbi may need to, you know, get to grips with. What's their strongest 11 for rotation? How do they kind of fit playing in the Europa League as well as playing in the Premier League? But let's dive into that kind of like the tactical side of things today, guys. Again, we love the statistics, we love the tactics on this channel, but it basically is kind of a 4-4-2 starting shape from both teams. You know, Villa, we mentioned before, their rotation. With Brighton, it's basically kind of the two strikers drop off, the two wide players hold the width, so it's kind of a, you know, 4-2-4 shape, as you will. Great football out the back, lots of rotation. In terms of the starting talking point we want to go with today, you know, I'm going to jump into the chat. Chris has just dropped a message saying Kamara and Diaby are the players that impressed me so far. And that's actually where we're going to start with today, guys. We're going to start talking about Kamara because Boubacar Kamara was a player that left Marseille on a free transfer. All Premier League clubs could have bought him. United, Arsenal, Chelsea, you know, Liverpool. All teams that either bought a DM or spent lots of money on a defensive midfielder in recent years, Boubacar Kamara was available on a free transfer. In terms of his profile as a footballer, he's a defensive midfielder that defends in front of the back line, holds you know, the position, very much as a player that keeps the ball moving. He's a player that will receive it, give it, receive it, give it. Doesn't play too expansive at times. Of course, he has got the, you know, the flat pass into a striker, the switch of play, but he keeps it ticking over. And what this has allowed, you know, Aston Villa to do is he's the first receiver. He's very press resistant if he gets pressure on his back, which he will do in this game. He's a player that can roll it, that can dribble through and so forth. But it allows Douglas Luiz to play a little higher, which I think can, you know, it allows that kind of more final third play from Douglas Luiz has been really, really good, you know, this season, at being a little bit more aggressive, a little bit higher up. And when we look at Boubacar Kamara and his recent performances, he was absolutely outstanding against Chelsea in the recent Premier League game. From a statistical perspective, Kamara really bossed that midfield. You know, 4 chances created, 40 passes completed, 5 out of his 9 long balls completed, won 5 of his 6 tackles, 5 ball recoveries. It was a brilliant display. And when Chelsea are throwing, £115 million for Caicedo, £60 million for Lavia. They could have got Boubacar for free. Man United could have got Boubacar for free. A lot of players that they could have got for free. When we're talking about defensive midfielders in Europe as well, Boubacar Kamara was a tap-in for the Premier League sides. He just was. You looked at his stats profile, it was absolutely brilliant. But another player that we're talking about in the chat at the moment, I am the number one Andre fan in European football. He is a player of immense quality, plays for Fluminense, who we'll be doing a video on very, very soon in central midfield. He is a brilliant footballer. The way that he rotates, he moves, gets into the half-back slot. The football that Fluminense play, it's relational in a sense of the ball player will have basically a diamond around him. So he'll have two players either side of the diamond, have a player at the tip of the diamond. Or if you're on the right side of the diamond, he'll have a player to the tip, player to the tip, player to the right, player to the base. The relation between the players, very, very interesting. We'll do a video on this channel about them. I think it's scheduled in for the start of November. But Andre is the guy that makes things happen in that team. In the Copa Libertadores semi-final, big game. 94% of his passes completed, 3 out of his 5 long balls, 100% of his dribbles, 2 out of 2 of his tackles won as well. Big talent. But he's someone that, Liverpool will probably end up buying. Going back to Boubacar Kamara, he's shown that Aston Villa's recruitment recently has been absolutely fantastic. He topped off this week by scoring against Everton off the bench. But I think consequently, it is the relationship between him and Douglas Luiz that's been really impressive. It gives Douglas Luiz that freedom to attack, that freedom to get into the final third like he did, against Crystal Palace. We can see, both of them, in terms of John McGinn, number 7, and Kamara, number 6, quite high, with Boubacar Kamara holding in midfield. You can see his heat map is in that inside left position. It's quite big. Lots of play in the final third. Won 6 out of his 9 tackles. It works together, and that's what Brighton have got to deal with in this game. But I do think, someone like Kamara has been... The Premier League have missed out a top-quality player for a free transfer. Stats this season, 20 tackles plus interceptions, most of any Villa player, 14th amongst Premier League midfielders. Got 228 carries, 3rd of any most Villa player. Progresses the play 4.46 times per 90. So in terms of that, I think he's going to be someone that has got to be really aggressive on, which could potentially see Brighton start with Danny Welbeck and Adam Lallana versus the Ferguson-Pedro combo that I absolutely love. But that would probably see it be a little bit more aggressive. Adam Lallana on Kamara, Gross playing a little bit higher on Douglas Luiz, and Gilmour is kind of screening that space to drop him. Mitoma's been, again, what a signing for Brighton. We say that all the time. But again, a breath of fresh air this season. Brighton's most best attacker, shall we say, came off the bench last week and instantly scored a brilliant header. And his quality as a forward, scored a brace in the last Premier League game, is for everyone to see. You're looking at how he works off the ball. He's averaging around 4 ball recoveries per 90, which is great for that position. 2.3 key passes per 90, 3 big chances created this season, as we mentioned, 6 goal involvements in 6 games. Only Salah and Haaland have got more goal contributions than Mitoma. His ability in 1v1 situations is absolutely brilliant. When we think about the makeup of this Aston Villa team with Matty Cash, John McGinn knocking inside, the big battle, I think, will be how quick Brighton can play through, which we know they're very, very good. If they want to play quick, can play quick, and get Mitoma 1v1 with Ezri Konsa. That's exactly the battle that De Zerbi will be trying to create with their possession play. I think that's where there's a bit of a mismatch in terms of players. Ezri Konsa is a fantastic defender and could easily win this battle, but the way Mitoma kind of disbalances you, throws a shoulder one way, then checks inside, I think it's going to be really, really big in this match. And, his performances this season have been superb. So it's about how they control it. Is it Matty Cash playing a little bit more defensive and holding? Even is it them moving Diego Carlos into the side? I think the one thing with that, if Carlos comes in and they play the 2 fullbacks on that wing and John McGinn moves onto the left-hand side, moving inside, Carlos versus Mitoma is a red card waiting to happen. So I think that's a really good advantage for Brighton and Hove Albion in terms of their setup and so forth, getting Mitoma the ball in these areas when let's say they've progressed the play with their back four players, and they've played through their double box, and then they've got Mitoma out wide. From another side, from Brighton as well, it's who plays as a forward. We've got some of the best young forwards in world football. Ferguson, I've spoken wax lyrical about Ferguson and his impact for Brighton so far. But he's still got a little bit of inconsistency with him being just 18 years old. You take that performance he had against Newcastle United, one of the best hat-tricks we've seen in recent years, Wayne Rooney-esque hat-trick. Would love to see him start. But De Zerbi's managing quite well. The burnout and managing from injuries has been quite good. You've got him in there. That could do a job with João Pedro sitting in behind, as we saw against Newcastle, probably their best performance. João Pedro's defensive work needs to improve, according to De Zerbi, to get better. Is this the right game for them? Been decent off the bench, scored 2 goals for Brighton so far. Does like to drift out left to combine with Mitoma and vacate that space. But I do think it might be the Danny Welbeck, Adam Lallana start. This feels like a game where you need those workman-like players in there, and then you've got the impact off the bench. We've not even spoke about Ansu Fati as well. How does he play for Brighton? I do not know. But I do think that'll be the battle. I think getting Diaby on the ball in the transition, getting Watkins in the channels behind Estupiñán could be a good one. The big target that we saw with West Ham United was actually the left channel, and getting balls over the top to Benrahma, but also we saw Mikel Antonio make that move quite a lot. So could be quite direct from Pau Torres over the top, get behind Joel Veltman, then create with a Diaby in the middle, making that late movement into the box, or even Matty Cash getting into the box on the back post. Could be the one. Guys, that has been the chat about Brighton versus Aston Villa. Any other questions, do get them in there. We spoke about Brighton's options leading the line. We spoke about Mitoma's impact. Boubacar Kamara at the base of midfield. Very impressive performances. Let me know. I'm Yaki in the chat is saying Villa have got a gem on their hand with Kamara. Dahoud is an interesting option from Brighton. I do think when, looking at Brighton's midfield, I've been massively impressed by Billy Gilmour. I think he's come on hugely in the last sort of 6 months of the season. I absolutely love Billy Gilmour. Watching him playing under-19s football for Chelsea, UEFA Youth League, to now him being in the Brighton team and playing really, really well. I think you look at Billy Gilmour's performance against Newcastle, he was absolutely outstanding in the centre of the park. He was the real reason why, they could play through the pressure, where they could get those opportunities. Obviously, his shot from outside the box resulted in the first goal. 2 key passes in the match as well. He obviously needs to improve from a defensive perspective. Got dribble past 4 times in the game against Newcastle United, but that will come with age. I think his possession play this season has been absolutely outstanding. Get your score predictions in for this first game. I am going to go with a 2-2 draw. That is what's just come to the brain there, guys. Let me know in the chat. Mitoma can play on the right as well. Been impressed by Adingara as well. He was great against Manchester United at Old Trafford. I was lucky enough to see that. Brilliant Brighton performance in the flesh. They played some great football, really good stuff up and down. And I do I've got a real soft spot for Pascal Gross. I just really do. He's just my type of player. Can play multiple positions, plays multiple positions well, plays right back DM, attacking midfield, right wing, left wing. Got great delivery, composure for that goal against Man United was fantastic. It's just a nice player, and he was sensational against Manchester United. So it's about how Villa can maybe hit them on the break and press them in aggressive areas as well. I think, you jumping at the right time against this Brighton team's important, because you can get caught 4v4. So you need to make the right call with that, when to press, when to sit. Man United's diamond actually did quite well from a pressing perspective. So Brighton could get pressed that way with maybe dropping another midfielder in there, maybe playing Zaniolo at the tip or whatever. Could be quite good. Mahad's going to go 4-2 Brighton. He's also going to say Gross is so underrated. Absolutely. What a superstar. Ewan's going to go 2-2. Like Billy Gilmour when he plays for Scotland. Billy Gilmour's a star from Yaki. Yaki's going to go 1-0 Brighton as well. Arton's going to go 3-1 to Brighton. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw in the game. Great start to the Premier League preview though, guys. Everyone give yourself a little round of applause at home. Maybe get yourself a cold beverage. I'm currently drinking a iced latte, because for some reason the sun is shining in Manchester. Who'd have thought it? off to Lisbon on Sunday. So any recommendations for Lisbon? Get into the chat. I've got lots of food places I want to go to. Going to a Blink-182 gig as well. It's going to be absolutely banging. Glory, Man United is going to go 2-1 to Brighton. So let's move on to the Red Devils. Manchester United. They've got a game against Crystal Palace this weekend. Of course, the two faced each other midweek in the EFL Cup. And by far, Manchester United's best performance against any team this season by a country mile. Man United this season have been pretty poor. We've got to put it down to them, not really recruiting in a smart way again. Injuries, though, I think is a big thing. The breaking news that we've got today, Lisandro Martinez is probably out for... We don't know. Maybe out for the entire year. For me, Martinez has been pretty poor this season for his own high standards. And he's obviously... They've got a metatarsal problem that is now in... obviously went off injured at the weekend. So, United haven't had a club doctor for 6 months. They've had someone stepped in. So you can completely understand what's happened. But it's still terrible. The other thing with United playing so many games last season... and that impacting along with the World Cup. There's got to be a real player welfare conversation at some point as well. Reguilon's out right now. United might need to buy another centre-back on loan in Jan. Amrabat is playing left-back at the moment. That is where United are at right now, which is isn't the greatest place to be. Saying that, though, players have come in and done great jobs, and it's given the opportunity for certain players to really make a name for themselves at Manchester United, and one that I have absolutely loved, the second coming of Marouane Fellaini, has got himself into the team, and that is Hannibal Mejbri. Hannibal Mejbri is a player that's obviously got big talent, but for me right now, Hannibal Mejbri is undroppable at Manchester United. How he's playing off the ball, how he's playing on the ball is exactly what Erik ten Hag needs right now. So Hannibal Mejbri at the moment is playing attacking midfield for Manchester United. But what he's doing off the ball is where I've been very impressed. His aggression, not only to press when the ball's lost in counter-pressing situations, but also be organised in Manchester United's narrow 4-2-3-1 we've seen in recent weeks to press teams in a very narrow man-to-man way, but also in the transition when teams have broken past Manchester United or have counter-attacked, the way that Mejbri has got back, not only against Crystal Palace, but also against Burnley away from home, has been a breath of fresh air. And this is why he's undroppable right now. His defensive work rate is absolutely outstanding. On the top of that as well, you're looking at the pressing actions in the Premier League this season. Hannibal Mejbri's pressed the ball 100 times per 90, which is the best record of any player in the Premier League. We combine that with his ability to not only score from distance, he scored an absolute banger against Brighton, he's got the quality, he is making the right decisions. There was a really good move against Brighton where he brought the ball down in the penalty area. He could have made a number of different options, could have driven at goal and shot, could have hit the byline and crossed, but he made the right call. He waited for Diogo Dalot to join the attack. Little ball to him, Diogo Dalot low cross, and of course Højlund just missed tapping the ball in. Correct decision making. Statistically as well, he is retaining possession, which again is important for United. United have got a lot of players, Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro, that are really direct. United need more players that can retain the ball in that final third. And when we're looking at Mejbri, he's got the quality in terms of the passing statistics. This season in the Premier League, he has completed 90.3% of his passes, which is better than any attacking midfielder has managed in terms of pass accuracy in the Premier League this season. For me, Hannibal is undroppable. What do you think, guys? What do you think about that, eh? Hannibal, undroppable. Let's get this party started. He presses, he works hard, he's aggressive. It's everything we want in an attacking midfielder. It really is. Arton in the chat is saying reported a minimum of 6 weeks, could be 2 to 3 months for Lisandro. Anthony Hannibal has Amrabat energy levels, but more technical ability and impact in the final third. We haven't seen at all Hannibal's levels yet, I don't think, in the final third. He has his best attributes for me is his carrying, is his creativity, is his passing, his threat from range. We're seeing the basics right, and that is what I absolutely love. Young players watching this, any young footballer, do the basics right. First and foremost, press hard, work hard, defensively transition well, retain possession at the right moments. That is simply it for an attacker. And then, when you're starting to do that, then you can start to receive at the right moment when you've got space around you, create something, drive, carry. You know, the quality in Hannibal is definitely there. And I tell you what, glory, Man United as well. You're saying Hannibal fouls too much. He's got a great tactical foul in him. I tell you that for free. He really does. I love his, he's been booked. He got booked against Burnley for a cracking tactical foul in there. So I do think there's quality there. Kobe Mainoo is levels. Can't wait for him to be back after the international break. I think Kobe Mainoo will probably play more defensive midfield, if I'm honest. I think he's being built as either a 6 or an 8 for Manchester United. If you look at his pre-season performances, I think was it the Leeds United game where he was superb? It was the Arsenal game, wasn't it? Where he was absolutely brilliant at defensive midfield. I think that's more of the position for him. You know, against Arsenal in pre-season, sat next to Mason Mount. You look at the kind of average positions for Manchester United, and it was actually him sat a little bit deeper than Mason Mount. Mason Mount is number 7. I believe, what was the number for Kobe Mainoo in pre-season? 37. So number 37, if you're looking at it from an average positions perspective, little bit deep on that right-hand side, getting on the ball in those areas. So I think, you know, it's a different position. I think he'll come in playing, you know, the pivot, and that's great for United in terms of balance, especially with the current concerns that United have got in there, because at the moment Amrabat's playing left back or played left back in the game against Crystal Palace, and he was outstanding, to say the least. He really, really was outstanding. I absolutely love Amrabat already. You know, he's a player that has got great quality in so many different attributes in his game. You know, number one is passing, his control, but how comfortable he is just to slip into midfield in that area. I'm going to have to throw Harry Maguire back into the team. We don't even have a Harry Maguire in there, which is pretty incredible. We'll drop him back in. And what was the last game between the two clubs? The 3-0 win. Maguire, of course, is number 5. But I genuinely think Harry Maguire played quite well at the weekend. So I think United should continue with pretty much the same team that they play. Mason Mount as that kind of deep line box-to-box player, just Marcus Rashford in, and obviously Højlund in, starting with this. But, you know, in terms of that position for Amrabat, the switching of play, which is massive to bring the fullback in, the kind of more aggressive passing that we saw from him, absolutely outstanding. Obviously, we love our analysis on this show, so we're going to give you a little bit of that right now. Is that the right? Where do we need to go? Is that perfect? Yeah, that's the one. So in terms of Manchester United and kind of the setup and so forth, as we've spoken many times with Amrabat, he is a player that likes to drop in between the centre-backs. He drops deep to get on the ball. We've spoke about him being a half-back quite a lot. You know, him either splitting the centre-backs and dropping in on the ball in these areas, creating that kind of fluid 3-1 base with Casemiro in that kind of more 8 position, as I like to call it here. But that ability to do that allows United to basically play with, 6 attackers in the final third, which again, is perfect. This setup and tactical side is absolutely lovely. So when looking at, these types of moves and so forth, we've got him in that middle position, just top of shot, sitting in that half-back role. We could see Casemiro a little higher. We've got a lot of bodies to play to. Pellistri's tucked in off the right wing. Mejbri and Mount are the 2 ball options. Obviously, Martial holding the line. Width from Garnacho and Diogo Dalot's just out of shot. But the way that you've got not only a player to receive the ball and the play, but kind of, he's got that ability to really make things happen for Manchester United. So it allows United to, be a lot more open. So we've got him receiving to feet in this instant. Really good kind of starting position. He's a heads-up footballer. this is the quality of a player. You know, there's lots of different attributes you need to be a ball-playing central midfielder, a playmaker, shall we say. One of the big things is that ability to open yourself up, to scan, and we can see in a lot of these clips that when he's stopped, when he's analysing the pitch, head up, ball under control, he's viewing. Very, very simple. He's creating that picture for himself, you know, looking to drop the ball into certain areas. In this instant, it is retaining possession and then looking for the switch. What you want to do when you're moving the opponents around is you want to drag them to one side of the pitch. It's classic positional play. Drag them to one side of the pitch and then hit them with a switch of play. You know, there is options on here. You know, we've got 3 options for Harry Maguire in possession, into the feet of Alejandro Garnacho. We've got the ball into Mason Mount's feet, got the ball over the top for Anthony Martial, but we're dragging Crystal Palace over, which I think is very, very important. Drag the opposition over and then drop it back. Maguire to Amrabat. We can see the Palace team is sort of, you know, you take the penalty, the centre spot, draw a line down the middle of the pitch. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players that have been pulled over. Then you hit the switch of play, massive amounts of space on that side. And that's what I like about his ability to switch the play. Big shout out to Glory Man United. We've had our first ever donation. Let's get this party started. $4 in the chat. Big stuff here, guys. Vid in the chat is saying, is Hannibal undroppable? Yes, we just answered that question. We'll have a little clip going out on Twitter. Gavin, Statman Dave with a mullet. It is absolutely wild, the mullet at the moment. We're getting it trimmed today. But we're keeping it, but we just need it to be a little bit more clean and cut. Blessing is saying Amrabat is going to allow Mount to be a great player as well. I agree with that. Screaming Scott, who would you like to see rotated into the squad this season? Maino, definitely. Ahmad, definitely. Hannibal's got to be in there as well. Big dubs in the chat, guys. We'll get a GG's in the chat for Glory United with the $4 donation. Big GG's. Miles, are you not concerned about Amrabat 1v1 versus pacey wingers? Great question. We'll answer that in a minute with the analysis. But back to the analysis, let's just look at the next moment of this. Obviously, the big switch out, a little bit too high, not quite dialed in with his switches. The reaction of Manchester United in this game was absolutely fantastic. But let's take a look at another example of this time Amrabat sitting in the left half position. So when we talk about the tactical side of things, we need to improve our vocab, because in England, tactical vocab's not really great with pundits. So the idea is that's kind of the centre half position. Left half is left side, right half would be right half. We're talking it from a classic football perspective when it used to be fullbacks, halfbacks and so forth, but this very much is the left half position, or the classic Toni Kroos role, as I like to call it, for Real Madrid. Marcelo pushes on, Kroos drops in, gets on the ball, lovely little pocket of space, but also the ability to play there, and it opens up different passing lanes and angles. As we see, again, with this switch of play, Amrabat obviously in that left half position there. Difficult to defend against when your opposition's playing a two-man attacking structure in defence. Difficult to get out to all 3 players. United natural overload. That's why building with a back 3 is meta at the moment. But once again, stretching the opposition, pulling them to one flank. This is the whole concept of positional play. Pull them to one flank, head up, switch of play out. Again, United moving the opposition. The switch of play here to Diogo Dalot. Fantastic, great first touch. Now we're starting to cause problems here, because technically now United have got a 3v3 on the right-hand side of the pitch. We've got Palace running in behind, Hannibal Mejbri supporting, the fullback of Palace, the winger, and the centre-half. Nice position to be in. Diogo Dalot drives inside, little ball back to Amrabat as he fires over the bar. But that is basically a 1-2, which is so impressive. Amrabat switch out, Diogo Dalot inside, little layoff shot over the bar. Lovely, lovely stuff. But moving on to, to Man United's goal. While we're talking about that switch of play concept, is because United scored a banger from it. One of my favourite goals of this season was the first goal that United scored, the Alejandro Garnacho goal. It takes that principle we're talking about just before, with United drawing the opposition in to one side of the pitch. Again, we can see Palace's defensive model over, dropping the ball back, little retaining the play. Again, down that left-hand side, space created by the play from Harry Maguire. He's going to carry out, draw the player in, then play back over to Mount. This is one of the best passes Mason Mount's played in his Man United career so far. You could see the defensive organisation from Palace, but how United have rotated. This is a thing of beauty. This is chef's kiss. This is what I expected from an Erik ten Hag team that we've not seen so far. The rotation in positions. So in this play, we've got Amrabat high in the inside left channel. We've got Diogo Dalot as a defensive midfielder. We've got Bruno Fernandes holding the width. We've got, obviously the two players, not Bruno Fernandes, sorry, Pellistri holding the width. We've got Garnacho holding one side. And obviously Anthony Martial as the striker. This build-up is beautiful. It really is beautiful. It's a thing that United need to do over and over again because it creates problems for the opposition. It's very difficult to deal with rotation in this type of situation. Who picks up the right back? Who picks up the DM dropping in? Oh, where's the left back? Like, it starts to cause you problems. And the zonal scheme that we see from Crystal Palace, questions are starting to be asked, which opens up a brilliant passage of play for United. Little dropping it back again. Play it forward to a winger, draw the play in. Mason Mount's still in that quarterback position, ready to play that pass. And when you've got a player of Mason Mount's quality that has got that pass in his locker, you're always going to allow United to really cause the opposition, problems in these types of areas. And with what we want to kind of build with United going forward, it is these types of play. The rotations come in. Mason Mount's now free in the final third, and it's simply a switch of play. We spoke about this principle 3 times. Draw the opposition over, switch of play. You're creating that space. Fantastic underlap from Diogo Dalot. Real great composure from Pellistri, who receives. Diogo Dalot's first touch is very, very positive. In that inside channel, beautiful underlap. Great delivery into the box. And finally, somebody scores a Diogo Dalot cross. It's happened. Manchester United this season have been wasting Diogo Dalot's attacking play this season. I think there's 6 chances that he's created in recent weeks that haven't been put away. But this was a great goal that United scored. Fantastic finish from Alejandro Garnacho, who absolutely loves playing in the EFL Cup. So it's a nice kind of goal for United, but remember the principle that we're speaking about, drawing the opponents in to one side of the pitch and then the switch of play with the space created, hitting the underlap, low cross into the box, finished on the back post. It's a great Erik ten Hag goal. It really is. Really good Erik ten Hag goal. But I think the other thing that I really liked about Manchester United was kind of their counter-pressing was really good. And it came from, a number of different players working supremely hard. We had a good question before in the chat. Do I worry about Amrabat and how he's going to defend 1v1 in the Premier League? Obviously, it's a concern that you've got a midfielder playing there, but quite frankly, Amrabat is a brilliant defender. He's brilliant in the counter press. He's very, very good in other aspects of the game, and he's a good 1v1 player. He's got great heart, which it sounds like such a silly thing to say, but if you've got heart, you've got determination, you can be a good defender. If you've got that grit, it's all you kind of need. So here's a little clip in terms of Amrabat being a sole counter-pressing machine. So Man United ball on the right-hand side. Got Rafael Varane carrying out. We can see Amrabat sitting in that kind of inverted defensive midfield position. Varane carrying forward, dropping the ball out wide to Pellistri. Pellistri looking for the feet of Diogo Dalot in the inside channel. Again, the rotation we spoke about previously, fantastic. Gets intercepted from United. Straight away, just with this lineup, we instantly see a squeeze coming on. Varane presses, Diogo Dalot presses, and then we've got Mount joining it, Diogo Dalot pressing from behind, which is such a key principle. When you read the Pep Lijnders book, a key principle with pressing is always being aggressive from the blind side as well as being aggressive from basically 360. But just look at Amrabat, how he moves over, his aggression on that backwards pass from Jeffrey Schlupp. The reason why Schlupp plays backwards in that position is because he's got pressure from his back, from Pellistri coming over, Diogo Dalot's pressing from the front. He can't really turn out, might get caught. Amrabat could make an interception. But the way that Amrabat squeezes the play is aggressive on the first receiver, forces him back, is aggressive on the second central midfielder, continues his pressing move, and United win possession back. It breaks down after that point. But the way that he's just squeezed the play there is brilliant. From central midfield, pressing out on 3 players. We haven't seen that since the days of Wayne Rooney. It's brilliant. is absolutely fantastic. And, you know, the impact of him, the impact of other, you know, players in the United team as well. We've got Hannibal Mejbri, you know, working supremely hard on the ball. United's man-for-man press on Crystal Palace will be the same for this weekend. We're very man-to-man in midfield. But again, being aggressive on those forward passes, you know, closing zones down. We can see Man United's left defensive midfielder, right defensive midfielder, and attacking midfielder all squeezing the play. You know, Hannibal Mejbri being super aggressive in these moments to win tackles and working back. This was an instant where obviously it's broken to Crystal Palace a few times. 1v1, Amrabat versus Jordan Ayew out wide, simply defends the line, shows him on the outside, bullies him, wins possession for United. Superb from Amrabat. I'm so happy that he's at United. I'm so happy United are going. But yeah, any questions on that? Any questions on that type of analysis? We have got Paul in the chat. More team play, less individualism. Absolutely. When I watch my favourite teams, they are one organism. They are one being. They play together. They open things up. So it's just a level. For this weekend for United, obviously, Amrabat comes in for Garnacho. I think you bring in Bruno Fernandes from Pellistri. I like Bruno right wing. It's just one of those things that I enjoy. I think Mount continues in central midfield. Amrabat from left back. Diogo Dalot right back. Mejbri has got to start. Undroppable for Man United at the moment, just for his energy. Højlund through the middle. Maguire, Varane at the back. In terms of Crystal Palace, of course, Mateta is likely to start. We'll also see Eze. Eze has been one of the most dangerous players in the Premier League this season for Crystal Palace. He's an absolute threat when it comes to controlling Palace's offence. Stepped up this season. Obviously, Zaha's departure, Michael Olisse's absence through injury. Scored a goal this season. He's averaging 2.7 key passes per game. One possession back in the final third, 1.7 times. He's on 4.3 dribbles per 90. He is looking very, very good. He's a half-space player, so he'll either play inside right or inside left. So Man United, in terms of their defensive structure, obviously we spoke quite a bit about their offensive side. They will drop back to that 4, but Casemiro's man-to-man role is going to be absolutely massive, I think, on Eze, because Eze is the type of player to really make things happen. He's instinctive, he's creative, he's a very, very good carrier. Linked with a move to Manchester City over the summer, and from those statistics you can see why. But I do think it's got to be a man-to-man job for Casemiro. I think when you're looking at the midfield and how we did see it in the game in the Carabao Cup, obviously with midfielders Chet Decore and Will Hughes. Man United need to go man-to-man, so Mason Mount picking up Decore and Will Hughes being picked up by Hannibal, with obviously Casemiro playing Mount and Eze probably drifting a little bit left. Obviously, if the possession breaks down and so forth, Mason Mount moving over, creating the double pivot, but very much a man-to-man shape in that system. Is what United need to do to kind of deal with the threat of Crystal Palace. Obviously, they will play their 4-4-2 style with the wide players, but it is kind of Eze that United really needs to nullify and deal with. Obviously with the other side of the game, the transitional moments, United just need to be very, very aware to stop the counter, to be super aggressive in the counter press. But quite frankly, I'm not that afraid anymore of those problems, because they've been a problem for so long, United being open on the counter-attack. But with this lineup that we mentioned there, with Bruno coming in for Pellistri, you've got such energy. Mount energy, Mejbri energy, you've got Højlund energy, you've got Bruno energy. It makes United a lot better. You've also got, obviously, we mentioned Amrabat's counter-pressing, his defensive work rate. So good. Against Crystal Palace, won 100% of his tackles, completed 96% of his passes, 91 touches of the football, or 92 touches of the football, 78 passes completed, won 5 out of his 6 duels. He's just a guy. You hear his post-match interview as well, where he was sort of being like, I don't care where I'm playing. I will play wherever the manager wants me to play. You think how he ran the show and with United creating that box in midfield, with him joining on that inside line. Talk about boxes in midfield. We're talking about that kind of box created that Man United will be able to create again with Hannibal, with Mount, with Bruno Fernandes. And I think with those players in the box, we've got much better retention. We've got players that retain the ball, which is so important. I love Bruno Fernandes. He is a breath of fresh air in football. I love what he does. But having players that retain the ball is going to make Man United better, allowing Bruno to play higher. When the ball's in those areas where he can be risky, where he can try something, absolutely fine. But that box is how United are going to control proceedings. Very, very important in there to go. So that inverted role from Amrabat, it's got to be how United start. It really is. The other questions. Harry Maguire. Question mark, chat. Opinions. Does he start this weekend? Does he deserve another start? Get into the chat. I'm just going to jump back into the chat as well. See what you wonderful people have been playing. Mahad saying Varane was really impressive in the game against Palace. Chris is saying midfield lacks creativity. I think that you retain possession better. You create those 1v1s out wide. It's going to be great. Linux, can we get a short rundown of Hannibal's stats? Of course we can. I'll quickly switch over. So Hannibal, obviously very, very impressive versus Burnley. And I think the big ones there, that 22 out of 24 passes completed, 2 chances created. Remember that brilliant outside of the boot pass for Rashford into the channel that Rashford should have basically assisted Casemiro but didn't get his head up. But also the defensive side of things, 2 out of his 3 tackles. The pressing actions we mentioned before, he covered more ground than any other player against Burnley in the Premier League match as well. The work rate, absolutely fantastic. I love that we've got a bit of debate in the chat now, guys. The question was, should Harry Maguire start? Oscar in the chat, Gross has been injured for like 2 weeks. Out of the lineup. I thought he was back for this week, Oscar, was my understanding from my research. But if obviously you know a bit better, of course, great shout. You know, we're a community of learnings. We're a community of joy and fun. Yeah, my sources were saying that he was back. Yeah, he should be back, I think. It was a muscular injury, wasn't it? Yeah, so might be back, might not be back again. Dahoud could come in. Balba could come back in, who they signed from Lille, who creme de la creme footballer. So I asked a detailed question. I asked a scary question. You know, question that you shouldn't ask chat much. Should Harry Maguire start against Crystal Palace? His statistics against Crystal Palace in the League Cup game. 100% of his 2 tackles won, 2 interceptions, 2 clearances, 125 touches of the ball, 93% pass accuracy, 6 out of his 7 long passes completed, 100% of his aerial duels won. Like, I can't ignore the statistics. I thought he played quite well against Palace, but I am not in control of here. T-Man is saying no. Kevin is saying yes. Iman's saying has to start. I tell you what, should we get a poll? Let's get a poll in there. Quickly bang this in chat. Should Maguire start versus Palace? Love this. Love this. Banged it in. Right, get involved in the poll as well, guys. Let me know what you're thinking as well. Just going back through your thoughts. So we've got so many thoughts. It's great, guys. Andrew's going, hell no, to Harry. Ian saying Maguire played well in that game, but I'd rather have Lindelof. Very balanced from Ian. Love that. Glory, Glory United saying Maguire played well. Blessing saying Varane and Lindelof. Same with Askey. Ewan saying preferred Lindelof. Mark saying based on that performance, it should be Varane Evans. Forget about Evans. That's another pretty decent shout. Johnny Evans was brilliant against Burnley. Really, really good against Burnley. Deserves another shout from Kevin. Plus setter Bruno Mount can switch. Aiden saying he looked good the other night. Good back into the team if he can gain some confidence and help the team. Obviously, United are without Lisandro until Christmas by the looks of it. Is a problem. Nish in the chat is saying works well with Amrabat at left back. Lindelof should start from Sanchino. We've got Maguire to start as well in there. Lindelof better ball playing centre-back from Mahad. Alvin saying Amrabat will make Maguire play better. Django saying Lindelof and Evans, which I like. I'm not sure who to go with. I'm going to be brutally honest. I thought Johnny Evans was very, very good against Burnley. I really do. I thought Johnny Evans was outstanding, which was, a big surprise. I thought he defended very, very well, was super calm on the ball, 8 clearances in the match, 91% pass accuracy, 2 assists. His range was great, which I think is a big, big part of it. His combination play at times and his ability to play that ball over the top of the defence for a Rashford, Højlund or Bruno Fernandes, who he connected with twice. I like that as well. I'm stuck, guys. I really am stuck. it's a difficult question. I think Erik ten Hag's got a few good options in form, which is nice to say. Eze will cook. Evans, which is not a bad shout as well. Who would I go with here? You know what? I'd probably go... We're going to go Johnny Evans. Difficult decision, though, guys. Difficult decision. I'll be saying their Maguire redemption arc begins. Again, look, I love a redemption arc. I absolutely love a redemption arc. I really do. So, you know, I'm on that. I'm on the fan of that. Ruben in the chat, not the biggest fan of the guy, but he's taken his criticism, played well. Give the guy a shot. Like that. Would it be Lindelof or Maguire in your opinion? I'd say Varane definitely starts if fit. I think Varane is our best centre-back without Martinez. Varane is fit for the game, so I definitely would start him. It's just how you fit it together. Do you want the Maguire play? We obviously saw great possession football against Palace at the weekend. There is a bit of a threat from Eze on the counter-attack and the speed. So Ian makes a good point that Victor Lindelof could be the best option at centre-back just because of that fact. The chat has voted, guys. We are done with the poll. No, Maguire not to start at all. So I think the other side of obviously dealing with Eze and his speed and counter-attack on the threat is big. Lindelof could be the better guy to deal with that. It's a real tough one. I do think Varane and the partner, I'd say. But I do like all options. I really do. And Johnny Evans is shown that he's still got it at the top level. He really has. Any other thoughts for this game, guys? Just going to jump back into... See if we've got anything left we want to talk about. We spoke about nullifying Eze. Again, I think the Eze battle would be with Casemiro, really. And it'll be sort of Matata versus those two, which for me thinks it's got to be more of a Maguire than Evans, if it is Matata, because we know how Victor Lindelof can be dominated physically at times. So, you know, either Evans or Maguire. I'd probably go with Evans if he didn't play midweek, didn't he? In there as well. Lisbon is beautiful. Oh, I tell you what, the restaurant you've mentioned, I haven't been able to say it. Cervejero Ramon, I've got that on my list. Thanks for that, chat. Absolute legends. I am fretting. Barry, this is what people have been calling for ages. Maguire playing with only having to worry about his own game. No captain rubbish to deal with. Yeah, I think that's a decent shout. Joseph Reguilon is injured, apparently, but we just don't know how bad he's injured or how long he's injured for. Man United are keeping it very, very quiet. Does Casemiro Amrabat unlock Eriksen at 10? I think we need Hannibal Mejbri's work rate at number 10. I really do. The pressing that he's done recently has been outstanding. Can't complain. Think he's been brilliant. The second coming of the great Marouane Fellaini. I think Roy was playing possum in the League Cup. We'll definitely see a different... Yeah, we'll see Eze, won't we? We really will see Eze. Could come back and put in a great display because he's someone that we know has got really good quality. This season, probably his best display came against Crystal Palace, where he really kind of ran the show in attacking midfield. 4 shots on goal in this game. Completed 7 of his 11 dribbles. I think first game of the season as well was absolutely outstanding. The game against Wolves, 3 shots on goal, 4 chances created. He is going to have to be dealt with because if we allow Eze to really run the show, United have got problems. He will be playing in that kind of high position as a little bit of a forward. So Casemiro dropping back as a defensive halfback, as we've kind of coined the phrase previously. Defensive halfback is what I mean there is, at times Casemiro can drop into the back line if Eze is playing high. Very much man-to-man. You got a 2v1 on Matata. Midfield coverage is fine. The free man for Crystal Palace could be an Anderson. That Højlund could press. Yeah, you see that's kind of the 5-4-1 defensive shape structure without the ball. Let's jump back into the chat. The busyness. I can see Hannibal, then Bruno. Bruno's goals and assists to the detriment of the team. I think Bruno's got a lot of quality about him in there. Maybe Victor Lindelof as a left back. We did actually say that. Sahil, how do you understand football tactics? Read about it. I think it's the biggest thing. Just bang some books. Inverting the Pyramids, one of the best from Jonathan Wilson. One of my favourite books. Got some good books from Michael Cox as well. He's one of the people that I really enjoyed reading when I was learning football tactics. Scott, Dave, you're one of the most positive people who covers football on YouTube. Scott, we need to be positive in life. What else do we have without positivity, eh? You know, United lost a few games this season. I was a little angry at times. But performance against Crystal Palace, midweek, great. So we're in a good position. Guys, I've said my 2 cents on this game. If United can play how they play midweek, they will absolutely battle Crystal Palace. I'm thinking 4-0. Get into the chat, guys. Get into the chat. Sven in the chat with a €2 donation. Let's get this party started. Big W's in the chat. Super chat. Let's get this party started. Bruno Fernandes at centre-back. Sven, please don't remind me of those days. I can't believe I saw that. I'm going to be honest with you. That was against Brighton at the end of the game. Bruno Fernandes was playing as an auxiliary centre-half. I thought I was losing my mind, Sven, but it happened. Please don't remind me. I've got PTSD from that moment. United don't need to do that now. Big Harold, Big Evans, or even Victor Lindelof as the left centre-back with Rafael Varane. I think we're absolutely sorted and fine, to be quite honest. Big love, Sven. In the chat, one absolute legend. Score predictions, though, get them in right now. Man United versus Crystal Palace at home. I'm going to go 4-0 Manchester United. Do get into the chat. Your score prediction, 100%. That's going to be the scoreline. I think Ten Hag just lost it from mad. I think he did. I think he just had a bit of a... he was angry. He really was. And yeah, damn right. Let's get some likes on the stream, guys. We're on 162 likes. Let's get to 200 likes. We are close. Rawton Minutes, love the channel. Thank you, my friend. Lewis, Statman, Dizzle. Let's get this party started. Lewis, you absolute legend. Get the score predictions in. I do think, it is going to be something we not spoke about as well. Diogo Dalot, we did some really good analysis on Diogo recently. His form has been so good. Dropped him a message recently just being saying, bro, you're flying right now. You're absolutely flying for Man United. I think his performance has been very, very good. Excelled against Palace. Won 100% of his 5 tackles, 101 touches, 1 big chance created, 2 chances created, including an assist. Just been sensational. Been really good. And I love to see players grow, evolve, and improve. Cheeky little Rasmus double from Akshay. We've got a Mahad 2-0 United. We've got an Arton saying 3-1 Man United. Rawton saying drop Rashford, prefer Garnacho. I think, if Rashford doesn't get his defensive work right, he will be put on the bench. Garnacho has got that threat. He has got that quality. AB Burns going to go 3-1 United. Elvin's going to go a 9-0 Hannibal hat-trick. I would love to see that. Chris is going to go 3-1 United. Francium's going to go 1-1 if Bruno and Rashford start. Charles is going to go for a 4-0 United. Marlon is going to go with a 3-1 Manchester United. All great score predictions. Let's get this party started. Any more United chat, do get your questions in. And let me know any other questions you got on the United game. We can always jump back into it. Paul, too bad for Alvaro Fernandez, who's on loan. We could use him now. Again, the squad planning isn't great, but I do think Fernandes needed another loan spell. I think that's best for his development, which is a really important thing in there. Marlowe's going to go with a 3-1 United. Glory United's going to go for a 2-0. Aryan is going to go for a 4-1. Please make a video on Brighton. It's coming very, very soon. We've had to push it back because we've had a new idea for next Wednesday, but we did have a video planned for Wednesday, so it might be pushed back a week or two, but it's coming very, very soon. We can't not talk about that because Brighton they're so great to watch, honestly. Like, sometimes teams come in European football and I just love watching them. Brighton and Bayer Leverkusen at the moment are the 2 teams. Brilliant to watch both of those sides. But let's finish things off talking about Angie's Tottenham. Another team that I think are absolutely brilliant. Great on the eye. Lovely positional rotation in their kind of 2-3-5 structure, 2 inverted fullbacks, Basuma in midfield. It's been great. And I think when you look at some players for Tottenham Hotspur, Basuma has been so good at the base of midfield. His performance in North London Derby was great. Completed 95% of his passes, 100% of his long balls, 100% of his dribbles completed, won 100% of his 4 tackles, 4 ball recoveries. He's made the most tackles plus interceptions of any player in the Premier League. Expert at winning the ball back. And in fact, if you look at his possession-adjusted interceptions, they're around 9.3 per game, which is the best in the league by about 4. Obviously, that takes into consideration Spurs dominate the ball, distribute the ball, but it just shows how well he's winning the ball back, independent of the possession. He was great in the North London derby last week, but so was Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son has been so clinical this season. It's really good to see. His link up with James Maddison has been fantastic. The pair of combined for 2 goals so far in the Premier League. No pair have managed more. I think we're seeing the new pairing for Spurs. Over the years, it was obviously Harry Kane and Heung-min Son. Now it is Heung-min Son and, of course, James Maddison. James Maddison and Son combined for 6 passes, or they played 6 passes, to each other in the North London derby. Between each other, and it's a really good relationship in there. Maddison to Son happened 3 times. All were progressive passes, 2 of them into the penalty area. Really good relationship. In terms of the stats right now, no midfielders registered more goals and assists since the start of last season than James Maddison. He is a player in great form. He did take a bit of a weird knock to his knee, but I do think he should be fit for the weekend, I really hope, because he's a player that's in form right now, that's just a breath of fresh air. 2 assists against Arsenal, dominated them. The way that he won the ball back as well from Jorginho and slipped the ball through to Son was great. Liverpool need to be aware of that. Liverpool obviously have been playing a slightly different way over the last 6 months in the Premier League, inverted fullbacks. Midweek it was actually Curtis Jones who played as an inverted right back, which is super interesting to see how Jurgen Klopp and Pep Lijnders are moving the side on. We can see the build up there with number 17 coming inside to join Endo in defensive midfield. It is an experiment. Of course, we saw previously back in the last season, start of this season, it being Trent Alexander-Arnold playing that inverted role, but he's been injured since the brilliant performance against Aston Villa. 1 assist, 5 chances created, completed 8 of his 12 long passes, 91% pass accuracy. This is where it really works to, kind of deal with it. And guys, we have got another donation in the chat. $20 from Ruben. Big shout out to Ruben. The worth ethic and standards of what was here during Sir Alex Ferguson needs to be set in stone. Do the work, or let the hungrier players take the chance. United, absolutely banging shout. And I do believe that is why Hannibal Mejbri is here. I've just been doing analysis on my own, by the way, guys. Sorry, guys. I didn't realise we were still on that screen. But that's why Hannibal Mejbri's got to start. Same with Bruno. Same with Mount. Same with Amrabat. But going back to the chat, Trent, obviously fantastic. He could return this weekend when we're looking at the injuries and so forth. Jurgen Klopp said on the 29th of September, Trent trained normally yesterday and will train today. We'll make the decision. I'm not a doctor, but it looks like he'll be in the squad and play on Sunday, which will be big for Liverpool. They are a much better side with Trent in there. And I do think that's kind of how they will start. I don't think it'll be Joe Gomez. I think it'll be Trent from right back, moving inside, Curtis Jones back into that attacking midfield role, who deserves a big shout out. Finally, on the discussion of Liverpool, Darwin Núñez is kind of making the number 9 position his own. He was great last week against West Ham United, and he's starting to be the Darwin that we expected. Núñez wasn't a great fit, in my opinion, for Liverpool. I feel they do much better with a false 9. And a player that can, receive the play, link it like a Cody Gakpo. But looking at the statistics this season, 6 games, 3 goals and an assist so far, averaging a goal every 76 minutes, and expected goals of 2.64, scored in the Europa League, scored against West Ham United. I think the agent of chaos is back. Great in the channels. He is that kind of, player that's going to play high and dominate the opposition, but he is evolving. We can see his average positions is a little bit deeper than what it has been for Liverpool. And last season, you're looking at the underachieving expected goals numbers he had. He had 3 goals less than what he should have scored last season, compared to 26 goals and 28 starts at Benfica the season before. We are starting to see an evolution. He needs to become a lot more complete. My concerns with him joining Man United was he had a lack of completeness in there. He didn't have that ability to control, to build play up, to, get on the ball and make things happen. Whereas now we're starting to see it. Still the agent of chaos into the channels, but getting much better at retaining possession with balls into his feet, which is a big thing for Liverpool. I think in this match, Darwin Núñez could be absolutely perfect. We talk about Spurs and the space that Spurs have or give the opposition in the channels. Very much Spurs dominate. They go narrow, like average positions, let's say, against Bournemouth. You could see how much space there is to the left of Vicky van der Ven, number 37, and to the right of Christian Romero. This is a game for Darwin Núñez. I think this is a big one for it. Guys, we will answer the questions of, if you do put questions in the chat, try not to spam questions over and over again. Ajax are in trouble because of their lack of structure, losing sporting director, losing a manager, not replacing them with good alternatives. So that's the big reason. But yeah, just put the message in once and we'll read it there. Simon, big up Statman Dave, big up to yourself as well. Tom in the chat as well. Lindelof is great at defending. Maguire's dominant in the air, but it would be good to be tempted to start Evans again. Nobody could ever play the type of pass. Yeah, Tom, I kind of bang on that. But yeah, don't spam in the chat, please, guys. Just bang your question and we will get to it. Luke, my sister and brother-in-law here for my birthday. 2 tickets to see Northampton play on November the 11th versus Burton Albion. Big shout out. That's going to be good. You enjoy that one, Luke. But yeah, get your score predictions in for this game. I do think it's going to be an interesting one for Darwin Núñez in the channel, but also Heung-min Son, his clinical attributes in those areas. Liverpool have got to stop James Maddison in between the lines, which is going to be a big job for Alexis McAllister. But do get into the chat, guys, your score predictions for this game. And then we'll jump in. Hey, from Morocco, Amrabat's country, became a United fan 10 days ago. Welcome, my good friend. I love Amrabat. I've loved watching Morocco massively overachieve in recent international tournaments. I absolutely love some of the players in the squads, in the squad of Morocco. And Amrabat's obviously the star for me as a Manchester United fan, but even looking further in that Moroccan team, players like Hakim Ziyech I've absolutely loved over the years, as footballers, as creative talent. But that World Cup performance for Amrabat was absolutely different class. So good. Winning the ball back, winning duels. 7 out of his 7 duels won for Morocco. 4 out of 4 tackles won in the game. Decent in possession as well. It takes us back to last year, which is pretty crazy to talk about. But they did so well. Morocco did so well. I really enjoyed watching Morocco getting to, so far. But, with Matt Sraoui as well, one of my favourite players in European football. Hakimi, Amrabat, Hakim Ziyech. They are just 4 players that I absolutely love. So big shout out to you, my brother. Welcome. Mahad's going to go with a 3-1 Liverpool jammy win. Chris is going to go for a 2-2 in there as well. The tackle on Mbappe in the channel, obviously a massive highlight. Spurs versus Liverpool. It's going to be wild. I do think it'll be a good game. Rawton, I'd like to see Højlund, Hannibal, Garnacho up front. I think from that perspective, with what Alejandro Garnacho can bring United from the wide areas as a creative player is exciting. What I would really like to see is Alejandro Garnacho get a bit of a game wide right. I think for the development of Alejandro Garnacho, that's an important thing. And we've got a video on the Statman Dave channel talking about that development coming very, very soon. A really exciting project with these guys. Carabao Cup guys. If you've not checked out the content so far, we've got a good video on the Twitter account at the moment about Cesare Casadei. Any Chelsea fans in the chat, go and check that out. The next coming of Frank Lampard, a box-to-box midfielder that's been likened to Sergio Milinkovic-Savic. Go and check that out. But we've got something on Garnacho coming soon, which I'm excited to share with you wonderful people. Ewan's going to go 3-2 Spurs. Ivan is going to go for a 1-1 draw. Django with a 2-2. Paul saying a draw will be good. Yeah, for Man United, the best result would definitely be... Sorry, I think I looked at that by myself. Best result for United would be a draw for the team, so United could get a little closer. But guys, that has been the Premier League preview. We spoke about Man United. We spoke about Laurent at the start of the stream. We talked about how Brighton Villa is going to be the game of the weekend in here. And Mulder with a little 4-2 away win prediction. But GG's in the chat, guys. Of course, got more content on the Statman Dave channel. On Monday will be the Premier League review. On Tuesday, the Premier League review. We'll be dropping a video on a very tactical thing on Wednesday, which I can't wait to show you guys. So stay tuned to that. Again, back next Friday at, of course, 3 o'clock on the Friday. Make sure you check it out. Subscribe if you're new. Smash that like button. Thanks for all the donations today as well, guys. You guys are spoiling me. Absolute legends. Thanks for all the donos as well. But much love, and we'll see you all very, very soon on the Statman Dave YouTube channel. How far is Kobe Mainoo recovery going before he gets a start? I'd say he's going to start or be in the squad after the international break.